doing in the freezer with the hash browns? Strange creature.
Yes, go.
So, yes, hello and welcome to the first official Scotch and Coffee question and answer video.
With me and Urby. If you don't know, I'm Archie, and we are the two lead designers on the core. Got a couple of other people helping out with various things, but yeah, it's pretty much just us.
So I asked you guys, Archie was away. I asked you guys to just post some questions for the first official Scotch and Coffee Q&A about the core, or whatever you felt like asking us about.
Yeah, let's start. So Flipped Out Kiri asks,
what do you, the devs, believe makes the core stand out amongst all the other Half-Life mods set in Black Mesa?
I think first of all what makes it stand out is that because this is now 2013, computer specs and just what people have been able to get the Gold Source engine to achieve has vastly improved since the last sort of wave of Black Mesa based mods.
I think the main thing that makes us stand out really is the fact that we've gone for all this detail and high resolution texture malarkey without messing with the engine itself. We're currently using the Spirit of Half-Life engine. Apart from a few tweaks to the code to make things just work better, graphics wise we've left it standard. So I think what makes us stand out is a sort of high definition classic feel that we've gone for, if that makes any sense.
I Am a Noob asks,
are you going to compose your own music for the mod, or are you going to recycle Half-Life 1 music?
We're not composing new music for the mod.
Between the two of us we have very little music creation experience.
But we have commissioned a musician to do music for us by the name of Varian. You might have heard of him. He's under the Monster Cat label.
Monster Cat being our main source of entertainment while we're working on the maps and various other aspects of the mod.
Hose AKM asks, what inspired you to make this mod? This is probably a question better fielded for Urby, because it's his story and his mod. I kind of arrived on the scene quite late. Urby was almost 2 years into development, if we go right back to before it was even called the core, before I joined up. My inspiration for doing it is so that he'd hurry up and finish it and we could move on to a proper project on Source, to be honest. And now it's 2 years later, and don't I look silly?
To be fair, when the mod started it was just me on my own, and I was inspired by things like all the decent single player mods that were out at the time. Poke 646, ETC and ETC2, USS Darkstar, They Hunger. I always wanted to make a total conversion mod, something that wasn't related to the Half-Life series at all. But for some reason, when I started working on the core, which was at that point called Complex Opinion, which is a horrible name, that was the one I was making the most progress with, because it didn't require me to work on too many custom aspects. I could just use the resources that were there in Half-Life. Because I was setting the mod in Black Mesa, I didn't have to worry about new models or textures, which is ironic considering now that the amount of custom content we've put into the mod. We hardly use any of the standard Half-Life stuff now in terms of textures and models and things like that. So yeah, but original inspiration to make the mod was just other decent single player mods and Half-Life itself, I suppose.
Marvin Hun asks,
so why don't you make a co-op mode for the core? Please don't tell me that co-op mode isn't compatible with the story of the mod.
Co-op would be a bonus experience, essentially saying there's no excuse not to have it. That's completely the wrong way of looking at it. Thinking that co-op is just something that you can, patch into something is just wrong.
You can't really get immersed in a game when you're playing co-op because you end up just dicking around with your mates.
Half-Life would not have worked co-op. It just wouldn't have. It works now in like Sven co-op and stuff because people have played it, people know the story, people know what to expect. So now if you play it co-op, you're having a laugh, over TeamSpeak or whatever, and just reliving your favourite Half-Life moments with a mate. For a single player story experience, which is what we're trying to deliver, if you've got a mate who's going to be pissing around and stuff, just having a laugh, you're going to lose out a lot on what we're trying to get across.
We've been working on it for such a long time. Co-op would just add another year or more worth of work. We spend a lot of time doing what I call dick proofing. I don't think I've ever shared that word with Archie as such over TeamSpeak or anything. But yeah, basically stopping the player being a dick and skipping out massive chunks of the level. Dick-proofing. And if we're then going to talk about adding co-op modes in, we're going to have to do double dick-proofing, because you're going to have to consider that players, when there's more than one player, they can sort of do things that means they can access other areas that they shouldn't normally be able to access if they were playing on their own.
And I think the latest Aliens game, Colonial Marines or whatever it's called, great example of how to just not do a co-op game. Because so much of that is like set piece after set piece, scripted scare moments and stuff. And if you've got, your mate jumping up and down in the background or something like that, or awkwardly written into a scene like none of the cinematics feature him, and then all of a sudden he's there while you're playing, it completely ruins it for me.
Cryptby asks, do any of the devs frequently use non-Valve game engines to design games or mods?
I used Radiant for a while for Jedi Academy and Elite Force. That's about it at the moment, actually. Did a wee bit of UDK, but never really got into it.
I personally am a one-trick pony, and it's a really old fucking pony. I've only ever really seriously worked with Gold Source, unfortunately, much to Archie's dismay. Other game engines, I've done some minor, like so minor it's not worth mentioning, tweaks to Fallout and Fallout New Vegas. Mostly for my own amusement, it's not something I'd ever release. But for the most part, no, I've only ever worked with Gold Source on a serious level.
BioDestroyer asks, what do you plan to do after this mod is completed? Another mod, a game, or just play mods and not develop anymore? Definitely not develop on Gold Source anymore. This engine is done. Already, like when I joined the project, I thought Gold Source was a thing of the past. Don't get me wrong, I love it, and I love Half-Life, but developing for it now is just kind of silly. In fact, shout out to Podcast 17 who featured us a couple of times, and in the most recent one, basically bring up, what's the point of developing for Gold Source? It's really dumb. Yeah, it is. It's really, really dumb still developing for Gold Source. But we can't give up now, and porting it to Source wouldn't work. It's all brushwork. We haven't built the levels in a way that could be easily ported to Source, which is obviously so much more model based. And yeah. So, in answer to your question, what are we going to do afterwards? I'm probably going to punch Urby, and yeah, maybe keep your eyes peeled for a Source mod, maybe.
Slayer CK2 asks, is Urby secretly plotting to steal the mod for himself and sell it in the black market to buy himself a brothel located at the bottom of the ocean?
I didn't think he was, but actually now that you bring it up, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Slayer CK2, I did tell you that in confidence, and now it's out there on the internet. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask for my money back.
Yeah, almost definitely, actually.
Carlos Carlin, despite me asking for one question per user, has actually asked 6 questions. Anyway, question 1.
I'm going to read this as it's typed. How did this project started?
I opened Hammer and started making a map. Seriously, that is genuinely how it started. I just opened Hammer one day and thought, meh, I'll start working on something else. I had a terrible habit of starting new projects when I had others outstanding that were nowhere near finished.
And I think he started it under the name Complex Opinion. Not sure why. Nothing of what was Complex Opinion still exists now, at least I don't think so. Certainly not in terms of levels or anything like that. There might still be some story elements that take their origins from that.
Is it very different now from its original goal? Oh god, yes.
It is hugely different now. When I joined, it was, I think, 4 chapters planned, and I was supposed to do 1 just to help Urby finish it, basically. It was just going to be, a month's work, and he'd release it.
And then further down the line, Archie agreed to help, and then he posted some media which just got an incredible response, so we just kept raising the bar.
And it'd be like, oh wait, hold on, what could happen here is, this, and then wouldn't it be cool if then that happened, and holy shit, wouldn't it be great if thingy met thingy, and then oh wow, that's like conspiracy, holy shit, that'd be great. Oh wow, we've actually we've made 4 extra chapters, 5 extra chapters now. Oh,
it's become something much bigger than I ever anticipated it would be, and it's a great feeling, really.
Yeah, you need that collaboration, because Urby's original idea was good. His original story hasn't changed, but you need that collaboration with someone just to bounce ideas off of, more in terms of gameplay than anything else, and just seeing where characters can evolve and what situations they can be put in that would completely throw them out their comfort zone, and hopefully throw the player out their comfort zone as well.
Is there a section of the mod where you're most proud? Which is it?
I am really, really happy with how our tram station turned out, because it wasn't remotely planned as part of the mod.
The dormitory section that I'm working on at the moment, I haven't shown off that much media of the area I'm working on, but I'm pretty happy with where it's going. I think it's probably going to be the highlight of my input.
Like running down this hallway as this tram falls down from one of those rails, because it's kind of a joke at Half-Life as well, because all the rails are like suspended in thin air. There's no physical thing holding these trams up.
I personally would say that Archie's sections are the most impressive.
So yeah, that'd be my proudest moment in the mod. I'm sure Urby has many, because Urby sections are phenomenal, and you should be very jealous that I get to play them and you don't, so ha ha ha.
How was the Scotch and Coffee group created, and how did Urby and Archie meet?
I mean, we've known each other through the internet for probably like 8 or 9 years now, through TWHL, which is an online mapping community. I think it might be dead now, unfortunately.
And somewhere on the lines we just started playing games together, became friends on Steam, and then eventually we started blogging.
He started vlogging, and I thought, oh, that looks cool and fun, I'll start doing that as well. And I was really bad at it, like just terrible at it. But we kind of like bonded over that as well. And then I went down with this with a mate of mine, and we just got really, really drunk. And that's kind of the best way to make a friendship really quick, is go to the middle of nowhere and get drunk with them, because either you're going to get raped and murdered, or you're going to be the best of friends. And luckily I was raped and murdered, so
that's that.
In terms of gameplay, how long is this mod?
Bearing in mind we're still working on it, it's still a heavy work in progress thing.
You're probably looking at round about 4 hours. That's maybe a bit ambitious, but I mean, it's long. There are like 8 or 9 chapters. Yeah, 9 chapters, including a boss fight chapter. And yeah, I think if you stop to sort of smell the roses on the way by, I think it'll probably take you a good 3 or 4 hours.
Which is or was the biggest obstacle when working on this mod? Gold source.
Which was the biggest obstacle when doing this mod? Gold source.
I'm sure Archie will agree with me on that one.
Dr. Gruppel asks, are you guys proud to be one of the last big projects on the mighty Gold Source engine?
I wouldn't jump the gun and say that we're one of the big last projects to be worked with on the Gold Source engine.
So it's kind of crazy to think about. I started modding for Half-Life when I was like 12. And that's just not going to happen anymore for Half-Life 1. So there's a whole generation of mappers that are done now. They've moved on. And I'm getting a little, melancholic about that, but at the same time, extremely proud. And I really hope that people like it, because I want it to be this, fitting send-off. Oh, that was a bit real.
I always wanted to release something on Gold Source properly. I've never really released anything major. I've done a couple of maps which are available online, but nothing major, and I really did want to get a major Gold Source project online. At least one, and this looks like it's going to be the one.
And finally, 23 Down asks, can we expect any new custom content, besides maps, that is, inverted commas, coming with your mod? For example, new coded NPCs, other self-made models, or a modified game engine?
Just look through the media we've released. Almost everything on display is custom at this point.
Our textures, for example, we probably use about 5% of the original Half-Life textures, and then the other 95% is completely new content by me and Urby.
A lot of new models, most of which are taken from other authors, fully credited obviously, and then edited by us. I have created a couple of custom models.
But we've always said from the start, we're not out to recode the Gold Source engine, because if we wanted, refractive water or bump maps or dynamic lights or something like that, we would have just used Source.
Yeah.
If you're going to be modifying the engine to such an extent just to get features even remotely approaching what Source is already capable of, and was back in 2003, by the way, why bother? You kind of deserve what you get. There's no point, in my opinion, in using Gold Source for that sort of means. So we're sticking to good old-fashioned new textures, new maps, new models, new sounds, and very slight additions with coding, a couple of new weapons, stuff like that. A mod, not a bloody engine update. God. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very, very much for the questions.
Yeah, thanks very much for your questions. If the response is good, we might do another one of these in the future, down the line, as we're getting closer to the release date. I can't tell you what that is yet.
This guy.